Hello and welcome to Climate Check with me, Mary Mwekisa. Now, access to land is your right. You know how it is when you don't have land, you feel like you're not settled in your own country. And so we will be discussing on the program today environmental related displacements. And we know that displacements can be caused by various things such as investments, as well as mining and much, much more. So we're discussing that today on the program. And I urge you to stick around because this may be just the answer that you need to that issue around land that you are dealing with. This is Climate Check. The program is brought to you courtesy of Strengthening Respects for Environmental Rights in Zambia. And of course, joining me in studio is Mr. Patrick Musole, who is Executive Director for the Zambia Land Alliance. But before we bring him on, let's take a break. Welcome back to Climate Check. Now, recently, the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres had an address on climate change to the world. Our staffer Dominic Davis Chifumbe attended the watch party that was held in Lusaka and filed in this report.
In a recent address, the United Nations delivered a forward-looking global climate address dubbed Moment of Opportunity. Secretary General Antonio Guterres emphasized the urgent need for countries to drastically reduce emissions and transition to clean energy, highlighting the disproportionate impact of climate change on vulnerable populations.
You can't build a coal plant in someone's backyard, but you can deliver solar panels to the most remote villages on Earth. Solar and wind can be deployed faster, cheaper, and more flexibly than fossil fuels ever could. And while nuclear will be part of the global energy mix, it can never fill the access gaps. All of this is a game changer for the hundreds of millions of people still living without electricity, most of them in Africa, a continent bursting with renewable potential. By 2040, Africa could generate 10 times more electricity than it needs, entirely from renewables. And we're already seeing small-scale and off-grid renewable technologies lighting homes and powering schools and businesses in remote areas.
Meanwhile, Minister of Green Economy and Environment Mike Mposha echoed the Secretary General's call, urging for a decisive national shift toward renewable energy. In a speech delivered on his behalf by Acting Permanent Secretary Ranford Simumbwe,
we view climate action as a driver for economic transformation, green job creation, and improved quality of life. We are focused on building a climate-resilient economy that is inclusive, just, and powered by innovation.
And the United Nations resident coordinator in Zambia, Beatrice Mutali, was represented by Benson Mwilile, emphasized the need for clean energy transition and reaffirmed their commitment
to ensure that we bring in more sources of energy that are green and that are renewable, for example, solar, and other sources as well, to help us be able to build that resilience and enable us to be better placed to have energy security as a nation. And as the UN system in Zambia, through, for example, the United Nations Development Program, there's been a lot of support that has gone towards helping in these different initiatives to help unlock investment into the energy sector.
And those in attendance appreciated the commitment made in the fight against climate change.
It's a wake-up call even for us here in Zambia that our response to climate change for a very long time has been more reactive.
I hope through our efforts, even the inclusion of youth, more youth that is, we can soon spread the word and get together and start making active changes, because it has always been serious.
Dominic Davis Chifumbe, Reporting for Climate Check, Lusaka.
It is no longer called climate change because it is now a crisis. It is a climate crisis. And this is why considered efforts towards climate action regards adaptation and mitigation should be enhanced at all times. Now, welcome back to studio where I'm joined by Mr. Patrick Musole, Executive Director of the Zambia Land Alliance, as we discuss environmental related displacements. Thank you so much for making time and good evening.
Thank you, Mary, for having me. Good evening and good evening, viewers.
All right. Now, let's first appreciate your work at the Zambia Land Alliance. What is your core business?
Thank you, Mary. At Zambia Land Alliance, we are a network of non-government organizations whose mandate is to advocate for the land rights of all Zambians, especially the poor and the vulnerable. In advocating for the land rights, we do realize that the law and policies play a major impact, a major role in the land administration. And so we advocate for laws and policies and administrative arrangements that protect the interests of especially the poor and the marginalized.
Okay.
So we are in the space of sensitizing Zambians about their land rights. We are also in the space of advocating for laws and policies that protect the rights of Zambians.
Okay. I like the fact that you are focusing actually mostly on the vulnerable people in our country. But let's talk about one and many more ways in which people tend to lose their land. What are the most common ways, especially in rural areas, that people lose their land and get displaced in the process?
Thank you so much, Mary. In the rural area, the bulk of the land is customary land, which is land that is undocumented. The rights of people are undocumented. And so because of that, especially on the onset of the developments that are coming, we have a lot of development-induced displacements where people's land is taken because of investment. And we have a policy that does guide on how such land displacements should be guided. But unfortunately, I think our track record doesn't show that the policy is being followed and so forth. So a lot of the displacements actually are development induced. Of course, we also have people losing their land as a result of conflicts with the neighbors and so forth. And so most of the displacement or loss of land is due to development.
Development, okay.
Yes.
And in this whole equation of investments, I'll pick an example, mining. We know as a country, we are a mining country, and government is projecting to increase the tonnage to 3.1 million metric tons by 2031. This means more mining companies opening up. This means more mining. This means more displacement. How can we balance development and safeguarding the welfare of our people in terms of land?
That's a very important question, Mary, because we welcome development, we support development, but at what cost will this development come? So I think as much as we welcome development, we need to ensure that this development is going to help people. It is going to promote or enhance people's livelihoods and not disadvantage people. Now, we have a policy in place, which is a national resettlement policy. The revised version, I think, is for last year, which is in place to try and protect people's interest. Unfortunately, we do not have a law. We don't have a resettlement law. We have a resettlement policy, which currently we have to work with. But ultimately, going forward, we need to ensure that we have a law in place, because a policy is a general guide. It does not have the power of the law. So the first thing we need to do is we need to ensure that we have a law in place to protect people's rights, to guide the management of this development. So I can give you a list of development or cases where people have been displaced because of development. Okay, we have a list. We have Kalumbila mine in northwestern province of Zambia. The investment that displaced people there is mining. The investor is Kalumbila Minerals Limited. And then we have Zampam, which happened in Kanshivia district of Mchinga province. And this is an agriculture project
Okay.
Initially, I think it was done by Zambif, but I understand the shareholding changed. It must be government now. I'm not sure about that. It needs to be verified. Then we have Luombwa Farm Block in Serenje district of Central Province, and this is an agriculture development by the government of the Republic of Zambia. We have Kafulafuta Dam in Masaiti district of the Copperbelt province, which is a water development project by Kafubu Water and Sewerage and Sanitation Company. Then we have Upper Lusemfwa Dam, which is in Kushi district of Central Province, and this was a hydro power generation initiated by local farms. Now, these are resettlement cases that are historical, that has happened in the past. But as we speak, we have a total of 270 households that are scheduled to be displaced by in Kalumbila district by Lumwana mine. These are yet to be displaced, but we are aware about the plans to resettle them and to compensate them and so forth. So what we are talking about is a reality in this country.
Okay. What is the cost or the impact of being moved from your land that you're accustomed to, a place that you're sentimental about, into a resettlement? How does that impact human beings?
Wow. The impacts are actually several. Lack of access to social amenities such as health and education facilities. In most cases, when people are displaced, they are taken from the areas where there are schools, where there are health services, and taken to other places. And so they lose access to those social amenities. And that is quite key, especially on the children. Because at the end of the day, children are the ones that have to walk to school.
Yes.
And they have to cover long distances. And then, of course, women are disproportionately impacted because they are the ones that have to take babies to clinics at distant places. So this is a major challenge. We also have loss of livelihoods as communities are moved away from their land, farmland, and from markets. So when you are moved from your farm or your field that is well developed and you are taken somewhere else to go and start afresh, this impacts negatively on their livelihoods. Then communities are also unable to benefit from the resettlement processes. Now, the National Resettlement Policy does spell out how communities need to be compensated from these resettlement processes. Unfortunately, this is not followed through by the investors. And so community members are just suffer from the negative impact of this development without benefiting.
How is it done? Doesn't government preside over it as a project until it is completely done and everybody is happy? How is it done?
Actually, the responsibility for compensating affected communities is for the investor, the developer or the investor. But, like you've rightly said, government is supposed to oversee that process. Unfortunately, that oversight is what we have not seen in a long time. In many cases, these community members are left to themselves and to deal with the investor. And you know about power disparities. Yes. The investor has so much power, has so much resource, has lawyers and so forth. And then the local communities in most cases don't even know their rights. They don't know what how to engage the investor. They don't know what they're entitled to. And so when they are told, all of you move out of here, they move without questioning. Instead of demanding their rights, because they don't know, they end up moving without questioning the investor.
That's interesting. What is the role of traditional leaders in this whole setup?
Well,
the headmen, the chiefs.
Traditional leaders are there to speak on behalf of their subjects. Of course, at the end of the day, they are also affected because we have seen development where at the end of the day, even the chief's palace is within the investment area.
And they are
also, they are also negatively impacted. So ideally, traditional leaders are supposed to speak on behalf of their subjects, to engage government, to engage the investors, to ensure that there is some negotiation and settlement that leaves everyone happy so that we have a win-win situation. A win for the investor, a win for the community, Now, today we are not ending there. Today we are also saying there must be a win for the environment, so that that development does not come at the cost of our environment. Yes.
Okay. And how are you ensuring as civil society organizations that you play a role of a watchdog, if you like, on some of these activities that may harm the environment and displace people? What is your voice loud enough? Are you at the decision-making table?
Mary, I'm the wrong person to say whether our voice is loud enough or not. I think we'll leave it to you
Yes.
and the population to judge. But our role basically is to be on alert. We have stayed alert about these developments to see how these developments are affecting communities. And when we see that they are impacting negatively on the communities, we raise a red flag and say, no, something's going wrong here. So our role basically is to be on alert, so that we can flag up investments that are impacting negatively on the communities. But besides that, we are also making efforts to sensitize Zambians about their rights, about how that they need to be aware about the national resettlement policy and resettlement standards and compensation, so that when an investment comes in their area and they are required to move, they need to be compensated appropriately. They need to be resettled, so that the impact of that investment will be positive on the community. The ideal situation is to have the investor getting their profit, the community is also benefiting, so that their lives is raised from the standard where they found them to a better standard. The different models of compensation is land for land, where a community has been moved from their land and they are given land as alternative land.
Okay.
That's one. And then another one is where they have houses built for them. I think you've heard, I think the case of Masaiti is one such, where the community members who were displaced had houses built for them. So that's one model. Another model, which is the West model, is cash for land, where the investor just comes in and says, okay, all of you are moving from here and I'm going to pay you so that you can go and find alternative land. Unfortunately, that's the one most community members, especially men, they rush for cash. And when they get that cash, they leave their land behind, they leave everything behind, they go squander that money, and tomorrow they are landless, they have no cash, and they're destitute. That is the worst form of compensation. Then there is also a form of cash for crops or trees. If, for example, you had a garden or you had a farm and you have to leave those things behind, those crops are valued, and then you are paid to compensate for the crops that you are leaving behind. Then there is land and cash for land, and that's what we recommend. What we recommend is that when people are leaving their land, that land has been developed over time. They have built, they have planted, they have worked on that land.
Yes.
To be given virgin land, which is undeveloped, is unfair, even if it is the same size of land, because people will need money to develop that land.
Yes.
They will need for them to bring it to the standard where they are like the same standard as what they're leaving behind. They will need financial resources.
Yes.
So people should be compensated with land.
And money.
Yes, and money on top of that land because of the developments that they're leaving behind.
Government has reaffirmed its commitment to inclusive climate governance in view of the newly introduced Children's Climate Council committee members. Speaking at a meeting facilitated by Care for Nature Zambia, Minister of Green Economy and Environment, Mike Elton Mposha, said the council will serve as a vital platform for amplifying children's voices in climate action.
Ladies and gentlemen, and the children, education is a critical pillar in our response to climate change. It is through education that we empower children and youth with knowledge and skills needed to understand, adapt to, and help mitigate the effects of climate change. Again, this came out very prominent in your presentation, that we must not only provide a platform, but provide information with which you can run to share with your colleagues in terms of the impact of climate change and how it affects the children.
The minister disclosed that government was currently focused on strengthening climate resilience activities and broaden children's participation in climate action.
Government. So what are we saying? We are saying that as we are talking about building resilience, the emphasis should also be placed on proper planning. We must ensure that infrastructure such as education infrastructure, such as health infrastructure, trading places must also be built in such a way that we take into account the era we are in. They must be built to withstand the serious impact of climate change. But planning is very, very critical.
Meanwhile, Little Miss Teen Africa, Sepo Mkelebai, said climate change was a child's right issue and must be addressed by policymakers.
From the submissions here today from my fellow children, it is clear that, firstly, child participation in the UNFCCC platforms need your support. Secondly, children in Zambia need capacity building programs to strengthen their role in climate action, especially for the UNFCCC platforms. Thirdly, climate change is also a child right issue and must be seen as such by you, our policymakers.
So our council is focusing on providing an input and recommendation on different policies in Zambia. So on climate change, climate action plans for students are made by the council because we come together to make these action plans, and also we are trained to maybe facilitate meetings, and on these climate plans we're given more information on climate before when the council was being formed, we were given training. There were so many children that never knew about the NDCs. I mentioned that last time I was here, and the council provided so much information on it.
The establishment of the Children's Climate Council is meant to, among other issues, create a vital platform for young voices to contribute to climate action through environmental awareness programs in schools, churches, and communities. Zakaria Nyimbile reporting.
We have come to the end of the episode for this week. I'll be back again next week, same time, same channel, with yet another interesting topic around climate action and environmental protection. Remember, the program was brought to you courtesy of Strengthening Respect for Environmental Rights project in Zambia under HIVO's Southern Africa and a consortium of partners. My name is Mary Mwekisa. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.